another edition of Jofo in the Ring. And yes, my name is Frank Jofo, and we have a special guest. His name is Brandon. What's going on, Brandon?
How's it going? Thanks for having me here. Very excited.
You're officially the first referee that we've had on the show. I'm pretty excited about that. But if the fans don't know who you are, tell them how did you get into professional wrestling and becoming a referee?
So I've been officially officiating, I guess you can say, for coming to the end of my rookie year. I started working November last year, the end of November. I've been training throughout the pandemic with Onyx at the torture chamber, specifically to be a referee. I signed up at the school to be a referee and worked on and off with the pandemic shutting everything down for about a year before getting into the ring. And we've been going at it since November 2021. Just going at it hard. Been working a lot in a lot of promotions. It's been an absolutely fantastic year.
But for you, was it when you got, obviously you're a referee, so you were a wrestling fan. Were you drawn towards the referees, or were you a fan first of professional wrestling and then it drew you into becoming a referee?
So I think based on my age, when I grew up on it, maybe I have a similar trajectory of some people, where I grew up on end of the golden era, my teenage years in the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, which was awesome. And then I guess sometime around maybe like 2005 or 2006, kind of just fell out. No real reason. I just sort of think life took me in a way where wrestling wasn't like, I wasn't prioritizing Monday Night Raw. I was off doing other things in life. And so I sort of faded out for a long time, like a decade. It was 2016 when I started watching again. I was drawn back in and went hard, watching all the shows as much as I could and really like deep diving, trying to like find some of the things I missed. And then was like buying all sorts of books and reading like history and bios and all sorts of things. And at some point at the end of 2019, I decided like, I got to give this a shot. I don't got the athleticism and the build for a wrestler, but referee looks like it could be something interesting, and dove into that, learned about, what the role was and what they bring to the match. As a kid, as a teenager, I wanted to be a wrestler. But I'm not as far as like wrestler goes, I'm not the tallest. Thing as referee goes, I'm a little too tall.
Okay.
But it was early 2000s, so we didn't have the internet the way we do now, and that ease of finding. You can just tap in Google right now, wrestling school, and find a bunch in Montreal or anywhere you want to go learn how to wrestle. But in 2002, when I was graduating high school and thinking I want to be a wrestler, I had no earthly idea how I would even go about that. And, who knows where I'd be if I actually gone through with that, if I was in another generation, let's say.
Well, 2002, I just to go back in time, I remember the days when, and I graduated in the year 2000, and we used to run to school after Monday Night Raw, and that was our internet, because there was no dirt sheets, there was no rumor mill, there was no obviously internet like it is today. So we would run to our friends because we weren't allowed to be on the phone at 11 o'clock or 10, 11 o'clock at night going to high school. So we used to run to school and we used to talk about what happened. Did you see what happened? Kane, Undertaker, And nowadays, I think it's a little bit like I try to steer away from that because I like to be surprised like I was back in the day. But sometimes you do fumble upon these things and then it kind of ruins it for people out there. You think that comes into play sometimes, like for professional wrestling?
Well, I mean, similar. I think that experience of watching Raw and Nitro on Tuesdays and Wednesday afternoons on TSN and talking about it the next day at school was a huge thing for me. And after high school, I don't necessarily have those friends anymore that I'm close to, which was probably one of the reasons why I was sort of slowly falling back, because I didn't have that. I could watch Monday Night Raw. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it the next day. And that's kind of what got me back into it. It was a coworker of mine who was a huge wrestling fan, and we were like just talking about the old days of wrestling. And then I went home and looked up stuff on YouTube and fell into top 10 lists and snowballed, and everything got rolling again. And then I had someone to talk to about it, which became really exciting. And I had a bunch of coworkers that talked about it. But at least for me, knowing stuff like before, reading like things like, seeing what's going on with like Fightful or Wrestling Observer, that doesn't take away from me.
Okay.
Because it's not just wrestling that I like. At this point, I like it's the business. So what's going on? Like, I don't when a match happens and I see like, oh, so and so won a match or so and so's getting a push, I'm like curious why. So like going into those deep dives, like what the plans are or why this came about or why this change was made, like those things are super interesting to me.
As a ref, well, before I wanted to ask you this question, were you a WCW or a WWF guy back in the day?
As Canadians, and we were lucky enough in that attitude area that we didn't have to pick because we had Raw on Tuesday afternoons and Nitro on Wednesdays, so we got to watch both in the week without any without missing. So I was both during those like good old
Wow.
days of WCW. Every 2 afternoons a week I was watching as much as it. I always preferred WWF,
Yeah.
but I watched Raw, I watched Nitro as much as I could on both of them. It was a great time.
As a referee, is there like a lot of people think like sometimes they talk about being a manager or referee that it's not as not important, but there's like like there's the two wrestlers, they have to talk it out behind the scenes what's going to happen in the match. Does a referee come into play sometimes? Do you have to be involved in storylines as much, or is it just once in a blue moon?
It depends on the match. It depends on the wrestlers. We're not the referees and managers aren't the focal point, but they're still an integral role of the match. Um, if there isn't a referee to miss the dastardly heel, you don't have that same heat. It's just two guys fighting and someone kicked him in the nuts. You need that to save to make the good call for the babyface or miss it so the babyface gets screwed or whatever the situation is. So it's an important role, but it's not a glamorous role, which is kind of what attracted me to it too. I don't think I would fit in the role as a wrestler as the center of attention, despite the fact of my reputation of class clown and always making jokes and being the center of maybe a small group of people that I know well. But I like the idea of that anonymous referee. I'm there and no one really notices me unless they need to.
Well,
And
we were at the last event for Torture Chamber, straight out of Chamber 5, and if there was one manager that stood out at that event was Shane Pinto, and he got involved a couple of times, and there was a
that
point where
subhuman scumbag Sugar Shane Pinto.
in the match with Drew Onyx and Genesis, he did get involved, and by the footage that we have, which will be coming out later on this week.
I saw the tape. I did the review as a good referee would to make sure everything is in order, and we review our video, and it was the Mahagas Bjorg Hacken match.
Okay, so it was that match then. Okay, sorry.
I let that disgusting putrid Shane Pinto get the better of me, but it won't happen again.
But to me, is it something that like is on your radar? If somebody does have a manager, that you have to be extra careful, because nowadays, I think honestly, in every single sport out there, the referees is probably the hardest job on this planet. You are getting criticized from left and right, even if you do the right decision. There is some people that are going to say, no, he made the wrong decision. So do you ever get that kind of criticism from the fans out there sometimes for making maybe in the eyes of some people, like I said, it could be a good decision, but to some people out there, hey, you made a mistake in there. That's bullshit, So
yeah, in the kayfabe sense, like when you miss that thing, they'll boo you. But if the bad guys do the bad things right, they deflect that attention right back to themselves quick enough. It's important that I try not to look too stupid. When they're coming up with ideas behind the scenes, putting together their match, sometimes I got to tell them like, no, we're not doing it like that. It doesn't make sense.
Have you ever wrestled in a match before? Or
never? Okay. When I started at the Torture Chamber, I walked in and sat down with Drew and said, like, laid it out, I want to be a referee. And from day one, he designed a program for me with the wrestlers. Okay. So while the wrestlers were training a couple of days a week, the beginners, the intermediates, the advanced, he found ways to put me in. So I never had to lock up, never had to learn holds, never had to take a bump. He adapted the class, so whatever they were doing, he'd find a spot for me to work with them, which was beneficial for both the wrestlers and myself, where
That's you know
gives
what,
me
that's
reps and gives them sort of ring awareness to get used to early on having a referee nearby and being aware that there's someone else besides just the two wrestlers in the ring.
making it feel like it's a real match, even though you are training at a dojo. And you know what? Kudos to Drew Onyx, because that just goes to show that, you know what, he sees something in you, and obviously you do referee at his events. Drew Onyx, what does he mean to you, Drew Onyx, and even at the dojo too?
I wouldn't have this career if it wasn't for him. It was very grateful for the work he put in with me. When I walked in, I sat down in his office before we started and told him what I wanted to do, and maybe some other wrestling trainers which would have said, and we're going to train you how to wrestle, and if you want to stand in the corner and be a referee when there's shows, that's what you want to do. But he saw what I wanted to do and saw that he found a way to make it happen, and gave me the opportunities when Torture Chamber wasn't running last year. Got me booked in FML, got me booked in JCW to get started, and I've been all over this year, and I couldn't done it without the guidance, the training, the everything that he's put in to help me get here.
You've refed in numerous companies, like you said, GSW. There was FML as well. FML is based out of Quebec as well. We know that the Access and Access Junior are there as well. Access Junior, he kind of intrigues me, because seeing his father wrestle back in the day when he used to fight with Sexy Eddie and Kevin Steen and El Generico, that style that he has, his son has more or less I think, in my opinion, I think he has the complete opposite than his father, because I don't think his father was more of a high flyer. He was more of a run and gun, I'm going to hit you in the face and you're going to feel it kind of guy. But his son is more of a high flyer. And at his age, the future is bright. What do you have to say about the XS Junior at his?
They're two completely different wrestlers. I think if you didn't call him XS Junior, you wouldn't know. But it makes for an interesting dynamic in their tag team. You got the fists and you got the flips. That high flying, and he finds a balcony and he'll find a way to come off of it. And it's an interesting tag team with the two different styles, and yeah, he's got at his age, he hones his skills. He's gonna be very interesting.
Plus, having the experience of his father behind him too, giving him pointers, is a big help too. Speaking about balconies, I remember he jumped off the balcony at the Lutte Academie, and everybody was freaking out. Unbelievable wrestler that he is. You know what? Like I said, he's at that right time in professional wrestling, that his age is he's a young kid, and he's got the guidance of his dad that's already been in that position before. So the future looks bright. Speaking about Lutte Academie, the first annual Lutte Academie happened. We had our 4 winners. Everybody that was on there had a great time. The opportunities that the winners are getting, for example, Jeremy Prophet and Jessica Black, that were on AEW Dark, and getting opportunities at the Nightmare Factory as well. What do you have to say about the experience you had at Lutte Academie, Jacques Rougeau's Lutte Academie?
And Matt Black and Moondog Dylan Davis, the other 2 winners
from out west and out east. Fuck, unbelievable.
It was a really interesting experience. It was really fun. That came about at a time where I wasn't sure what was going to be going on for me this year. Because we had shut down again in Quebec by Christmas 2021. So I had no bookings on the table at the beginning of the year. I had no idea at that point. I only done 2 shows. I didn't know where I was going to end up. And Yane Harrison sent me a message letting me know that Jacques was looking for referees. So I went for it. I took a shot, and he picked me, and that was an awesome experience, being able to do that, getting to meet all sorts of people that without Lutte Academie, I probably never would have met them. guys like Moondog and Matt Black coming in from out east, out west. The guys from Calgary that came in, and a bunch of
from
people
Ontario as well, and
from Ontario, and I got to hang out and work with some really cool people. And some that I already knew, like Yane and Bjorg, and unfortunately Shane Pinto.
I was waiting for that.
But it was an awesome experience. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
That's why, you know what, like I honestly, like I always say it, and I'm gonna say it until I have no more breath on me, that Jacques Rougeau, a lot of people were criticizing me at the beginning, and no one saw the bigger picture about of this. And you just said it yourself, and a lot of people have come on the show and they've said the same thing, is that they've met new people, opened up doors, contacts, like if before maybe you would never have met these people, and maybe these certain opportunities that these people have gotten wouldn't have happened. And you know what? Jacques Rougeau came through, and whatever he came and said, that from the prize winning to being on AEW to the Nightmare Factory, which the winners are all there right now, and they're looking like $1 million right now because they're training every day and they're having fun as well. So, are you going to be involved in the next year's Lutte Academy? Is going to be official yet, or do you not
official yet? If Jacques will have me back, I'd love to be back. And or let's say like the early part of the year before Wrestling Academy started, there was criticism, and even myself, I had I wasn't sure. It's a new project. Everything that's new, you don't know. There's no track record behind it at this point. So I signed up knowing that maybe it won't happen. Maybe there won't be the prizes. Maybe there will be a winner, but they're not going to get to go to, maybe QT won't actually be involved. Who knows? Like, we don't know. There's no track record, but since October, everyone got their prizes. Everyone's in Atlanta. Everyone was on Dark.
Yeah.
He pulled through, and, criticize all you want. He said he was going to get everyone their opportunities, all the winners, these opportunities, and they did. So Wrestling Academy 2023, like, now you have the track record behind it. Now you can go in knowing that if I win, I win. Not me. I'm a referee. There's no contest for referees unless you want.
You never know. You never know.
If you want to give me $10,000,
there was rumors that they wanted to have a manager competition. Shane Pinto was all over it there, so you never know. There could be a referee segment there. Who knows? But Jacques, if you're listening, and I know he is, I think you have your referee for Lutte Academy, the second edition here. So
I'd love to take part in it again. Some of the returning faces that didn't win that are coming back. Super excited to work with them again.
What are some of your favorite referees? I know it's a kind of a cliche question there, but what were some of your favorite referees from WWF and WCW?
Going like younger days, I can't remember because I wasn't really paying attention to those. I can tell you all my favorite wrestlers for sure because watching for the wrestlers, but nowadays looking back, or some of the current ones, I really, really like Aubrey Edwards. And she not only is she a great referee, great person too. I've done a tape review with her.
Okay, wow.
We sat down for an hour, watched a match, broke it down, gave me a million tips and pointers and things.
Oh, wow, really? Wow, that's really nice of her.
Didn't have to do that. Did it, for free on her own free time. Wow. I sent her a link and was like, "Can you watch it?" Thinking maybe she just like look at it and say, "Do this, don't do that." And she's like, "Yeah, we're doing it, but we're sitting down together and we're watching it," and spend an hour with her on a 10-minute match. So always going to love and respect Aubrey for that. Charles Robinson, I really like. And I take in some of the negatives that some might perceive from Charles, that he's a little bit over the top, and I oversell a little bit too in my matches. I overreact just a little bit. But I think it adds something. I try not to go overboard, but there's a couple of good shots out there of me just overreacting to a crazy huge bump.
So you obviously know about the Montreal Screwjob. I know it's the anniversary coming up.
Of course, it is 25 years.
And they always say poor Earl Hebner, he was involved, and was he involved? And he comes out and says that it was a work or a shoot. What do you think it was? Do you think that it was all planned out, or do you think actually Bret Hart did get screwed by Vince McMahon?
Oh, I think I think it's got to be based on everything that was going on. It had to have been real. The amount of involvement that other people had may be questionable. Um, the story that he knew, like, basically grabbed at the curtain last second before he went out saying, you're doing this and this is how it's going to happen. And didn't really have a choice. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not.
Did you watch the Dark Side of the Rings? He
Of
literally
course.
was legitimately like scared for his life, and I don't blame him. Like to the point where, and I was one of them too. When he used to come back, that's all you heard. You screwed bread. That's the only thing he's heard for the rest of his life after that happened. And you know what? It's I have to say right now, it was funny at the beginning. But watching that, I feel so bad because I don't think he deserved that. I think he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, and feel bad for him. So a referee, they're supposed to be more anonymous, more invisible.
Yeah,
And he became a bullseye every time he crossed the border.
Poor guy.
And to a degree, even Bret Hart, such an amazing career he had. But I think the thing, if you say Bret Hart, one of the first three things everyone's going to think of is Screwjob.
Yeah,
and not all his amazing matches and the incredible career that he had. So he's been tarnished in some way as well.
You know what? You're absolutely right, because like when you do bring up Bret Hart, and unfortunately we do a lot of that a lot on this show, and a lot of people don't know we're from Montreal. They're like, "You're from Montreal. What do you think happened?" Like, I know Sexy Eddie was there, and he still doesn't even know, to the point where if it was real or fake. But seeing what Bret Hart, he's had the same story since the beginning, and I don't see any reason for him to lie about that, and especially him going to WCW after made all sense to me. So I personally think that he did get screwed, but just to go back to it, it's just that the referee got subliminally involved in that, and it sucks to see somebody, like you said, like that shouldn't have been involved and got such a big spotlight on. If you've ever been involved in something like that, like let's say you were not supposed to count to three and you counted on three by accident and the match got screwed up. Anything happened?
That's
like
happened
that
once or twice where the near fall, that false finish was a little bit too close to three, and I couldn't stop my hand in time. But that's just you got to react. So my hand hit, but I knew when I was this far from the mat, I won't be able to stop. So by the time it hit, my brain was already, I got to do something. So I was straight up waving it off, saying the shoulder was up. It was two. And I think I was working with La Pulga, Victor Castella, in a match that had happened, and he spotted it. And soon as he sensed that the crowd was just beginning to turn on me, because now all of a sudden the tension's on me, he hit the top rope and did a 450. So automatically they went to start cheering it right away.
That's great. You reacted right away, which made Victor react right away. So it kind of felt like it was like it maybe was supposed to happen, kind of thing. So that's great. That's a quick.
No one would have known. There. No one would have known unless I said it.
Until now.
So if I didn't say anything, no one would have known, because there was no. You see like in those Botchamania videos, the awkward pause of the ref hits three and everyone sort of sits there like, oh, crap, what do I do now? What was we moved, we went, we straight away. I waved it off. I gestured that the shoulder was up. He went straight for the finish, the real finish. So it happens. You try to avoid it at all costs.
MEW this weekend, and Josh Alexander. I'm big fans of Josh. Canadian boy. He's the Impact World Champion. He's going to be fighting Ace Austin this weekend. You have any predictions for that match? And do you know if you're going to be reffing that match? Is it official yet?
My prediction is it's going to be good. And that's all you're getting. No, I don't know everything. I know that I'm scheduled at this point to be involved with Brad Alexis.
Okay.
And Salsa King.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to that because Brad Alexis and I get along great. And Johnny Taco will be in the corner of Salsa King, and Johnny Taco and I both train together to Torture Chambers. So
is he gonna have his entourage with him that he had at Torture Chamber? Because we walked in there, we're like, my friend was like, why did everyone have these Taco Mania shirts? And now I just saw on the card for MEW that he's going to be wrestling in this event as well, and they're going to be serving tacos. So
he's unfortunately injured, as we saw at
yes,
at Torture Chamber, so he won't be wrestling.
Paulo Triazzi there, what a savage! Great heel.
But no, Taco's still recovering, so he'll be he has been replaced by Salsa King, and he'll be in his corner.
Okay.
So there will be tacos on site. So
will he be serving the tacos, or because if it's bad arm, you won't be able to serve the tacos?
Maybe he can hold the tortilla in his sling and dress it and pass. I don't know. We'll see how he manages. So Ticketmaster.ca, and on my socials, there's links to all the tickets that for all the shows that I'm involved with in the next coming weeks. Got a busy schedule.
Have you ever gone into any altercations as a referee with Mike Patterson? Because I know, I think him and Shane Pinto would be a good team. Maybe down the road one day. But Mike Patterson, he used to manage Jeremy Prophet back in the day in IWS, and now he's managing in Main Event Wrestling. You have any words to say to Mike Patterson before this event?
We had words on Instagram. I made a comment about him and Brad being together is too much mouth to handle, but he took exception to me being a referee. So we'll see. I'll have to keep my eye on him, both eyes. I'll have to grow more eyes. It's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna keep control. I got to keep control. It's my one job. I'm looking forward to it.
If anyone hasn't got any tickets in for that event, please do. It's in Montreal, the 11th of November.
Studio TD, right in the heart of downtown.
That's it, right in the heart of downtown Montreal. Get your tickets. Like I said, Josh Alexander will be facing Ace Austin. Will Santino Marella be in Montreal for that event?
I don't know if he's scheduled. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. I always like seeing Santino. He always brings a smile to my face.
Yeah, we'll see if he brings any serpentine friends with him.
And the three-way match of the finals for Lutte Academie, you were the referee in that match. Could you talk to me how awesome and how proud it was for you to be the referee in that match, the final for the first ever Lutte Academie, and see Jeremy Prophet come out the winner?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to do his match and Jessica's match the match before, so I got to be part of both winners' matches. That was great experience. It was I think there was a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on both of them. We're on all four of them, or five of them, since it was a three-way. Going into that match, everyone really wanted it to go really well, and there were spots for me in both those matches. So that's a little bit of extra pressure on me whenever there's something other than stay out of the way and count to three. When there's something for me to do in the match, it adds a little more pressure, and I think 10 times more because this is someone's dream and future on the line. It's not just a payoff for an indie show. Yeah. If I blew Jeremy's match, maybe he wouldn't have got that up.
Watching as well.
Yeah, if I would have blown his spot and he didn't get the win out of it,
you would have never heard the end of that one. I'll tell you that.
That's a career changing trajectory. If I mess up in that match, that's a lot of pressure on me. But I think everything went well in both those matches. I took a small bump in Jessica's match.
Yes.
Got knocked out by Cece and had to come back to do Jeremy's match. A little bit sore from that strike, but no, everything went well, and I'm glad it went well for everyone involved, and I got to be seen by QT Marshall, and hopefully he was impressed. Not impressed enough to go to Toronto, but I'll be there next year. That's my goal.
Hey, there you go. I'd love to see that. Open the TV and see you on there. If it's WWE, if it's Impact, if it's AEW, wherever it brings you. But
if you time it right, you can turn on the TV and see me on the Fight Network Friday nights 8 p.m. replays Saturday mornings 8 a.m. IWS Bloodstream.
I've seen you lots of times on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Trust me. Is there a match that comes to mind that was like a perfect, beautiful match for you? That's something like you were like made you happy and something that you'll never forget, a match that you ref?
Wow. I think one that comes to mind is it was from the semifinals of Wrestling Academy. was Jesse V's match, which was really, really exciting match, and the crowd was really into it with a really exciting finish. That was a good one for me.
Get some good
A
crowds.
lot
in
of
Lutte
them
Academie,
blend
though.
in, and I have a hard time remembering specifics, but getting to do this past 2 weeks ago, Torture Chamber, finally, because the 2 years of training, they weren't running when I was getting started, so I never got to do, as a Torture Chamber graduate, I never got to do a Torture Chamber match, so I was really excited to get to do that, and actually Drew Onyx's match in Chibougamau, Quebec was a huge match, semi-main event for just before he won his championship in JCW.
Okay.
But it was a really hot crowd, and it was a really exciting match, that one.
Have you got any predictions for the next event? I know Bjorg's going to be. I know it's to put you on the spot here. You might be refereeing this match, but who do you think's going to pull it off for the Commonwealth title? Drew Onyx or Bjorg?
It's
With
going to be
Shane
a tough
Pinto
one.
in his corner too.
That's
so
going to be a tough one, because Drew Onyx, the perennial champion, the multi-time champion, the last champion before having to hand it over. He's got all the credentials. He's got all the experience. He's a Hall of Fame wrestler. But Bjorg is no slouch, and he has that guy in his corner. That guy.
It's going to be a good event. I can't wait for that. And I was really excited. Like I said, my friend that was with me, Big Joe, he's never been to an event, and he's never even heard of Torture Chamber. And I told him, I go, come in and have an afternoon with us. And he really enjoyed it. He was telling me this. He was telling me the certain stories that were happening. I go, but Joe, this was your first time. He goes, yeah, I understand what's happening. And that's what I was telling Joe. I go, you don't even have to know who the wrestlers are and know what's and obviously then you know what story is happening in the ring. So that's great storytelling. And then obviously the wrestling was unbelievable, way over my expectations, and I enjoyed it. So I can't wait for that next event.
There's a great group of guys in that locker room that know that really know their characters and know how to work well, and so they're able not just to go out there and do a match, but all these matches were establishing stories.
And you know what?
Even non-championship matches with Taco and Paulo. Yeah. And my girlfriend came to the show with a couple of her friends that are non-wrestling fans, and they're super invested in the Taco storyline now. They're going to be at the next one, December 4th.
Yes. So yeah, we can't wait for that. So I like for me, I can't pick. Maybe I'll make a pick, maybe a little closer to the event. But right now, I can't make a pick for that. Is there anything else you want to talk about? If you want to put out your social medias, what events you're going to be doing in the future, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, we got a full calendar coming up into Christmas. November 11th, main event wrestling. It is Conqueror's Quest. Tickets are on sale. November 12th, FML Wrestling in Boucherville. November 19th, I might be going to Thetford Mines to see to be with Victory Ring. There's a couple of other FML shows coming up. They're dojo shows in November, December that I don't have the information on yet, but I'm always with FML whenever they're running. I'm almost always there. They're the ones that I work with the most these days since they run so often. December 3rd, IWS Season Beatings at the Olympia. Tickets are also on sale on Ticketmaster. And December 4th, Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling Showcase Sunday 20. I don't have the details on it yet, but it is happening. New Canadian Tag Team Champions, new British Commonwealth Heavyweight Champion. Victor always defending his title if he's still the champion by the time that comes around, because he's got a couple of defenses ahead of him. He's going to be defending that title as well. Who will it be against?
He defends it on other promotions as well, too.
Yeah, he defended it last Friday in Ottawa with Remix Wrestling, the new promotion, which was absolutely fantastic. Wrestling in a brewery. It's great.
Wow.
Great show. It was fantastic. I can't wait for them. The show's successful. Remix Wrestling will be back in Ottawa sometime soon. He's defending it this coming Saturday in Chicoutimi for JCW, and I believe he's defending it as well next week in Thetford Mines for Victory Ring. So Victor is a fighting champion, and he's taking that belt to anyone who's willing to let him get into the ring and defend it.
Well, everybody out there, you're looking at the busiest referee in independent wrestling in Quebec right now. Support him as much as you can. All his links are in the description down below, and all the events that he will be reffing at. Because, like we said before, we support Quebec, Canadian wrestling, anything from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. We support. And we support you, Brandon, as well. It's been a pleasure, but thank you for your time. And we'll be at the Torture Chamber, the event as well. MDW, I will be there as well too. So we'll be seeing a lot of each other. Thank you for your time, and good luck to you. And be safe in there, because the referees, you never know what can happen. So
I got to be safe because I've actually nearly broke my finger yelling at Shane Pinto. And I've never forgiven him for it. So I'm definitely going to have to be careful when he's around.
You hear that, Shane? There you go. So everybody out there, remember, wrestling is life.
For life.
So, Jofo, I'm a gargle a shot for Kurt hitting it, everybody, before we go.
Oh, no.
Jofo, thank you guys.